Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. President Donald Trump has met briefly with Qatar's Emir, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, in Doha aboard Air Force One, where Trump praised Qatar as a great ally of the United States. He credited the Emir's leadership for helping establish peace in the region and said progress on Middle East peace was now believable. Meanwhile, President Trump has rolled back a Biden-era rule that tightened air pollution limits on copper smelters. The order grants a 2-year exemption for companies, citing the need to protect America's mineral independence and industrial base. The White House says stricter emission controls were threatening domestic production and could increase reliance on foreign processors. China and the United States have wrapped up the first day of economic and trade talks in Kuala Lumpur. The Chinese delegation is led by Vice Premier He Lifeng, with discussions expected to continue through Monday. According to China's Ministry of Commerce, the consultations follow up on key understandings reached between the two presidents during their phone calls earlier this year. Meanwhile, President Trump says he has no plans to meet Canadian Prime Minister Carney during the ASEAN summit in Kuala Lumpur. His comments came after Carney signalled Canada's readiness to resume trade talks, which Trump suspended over an anti-tariff ad aired in Ontario. Trump, however, said a meeting with Brazil's President Lula is likely and added that he's open to discussing tariffs under the right circumstances. Separately, the Trump administration has prepared additional sanctions it could use to target key areas of Russia's economy if President Vladimir Putin continues to delay ending Moscow's war in Ukraine. US officials have also told European counterparts that they support the EU using frozen Russian assets to buy US weapons for Kyiv. And Washington has held nascent internal conversations about leveraging Russian assets held in the US to support Ukraine's war effort. 2 people were killed and 13 injured in Kyiv after a wave of Russian missile and drone strikes overnight. Ukrainian officials say the attacks hit energy and infrastructure sites, setting fires and damaging residential areas, including a kindergarten. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the strikes show why Ukraine urgently needs more Patriot air defense systems. Russia claims its targets were military and energy facilities, but Kyiv says Moscow is trying to trigger a humanitarian crisis ahead of winter. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Taiwan should have no reason to worry about the upcoming US-China trade talks in Malaysia. Speaking to reporters en route to Asia, Rubio made it clear that Washington will not trade its support for Taiwan in exchange for economic concessions from Beijing. The second round of Pakistan-Afghanistan negotiations has wrapped up its initial sessions in Istanbul, with both sides pushing to finalise a lasting framework for border peace. Officials say the talks built on the Doha agreement could continue for another 3 days. Pakistan is seeking a verifiable system to monitor cross-border militancy and prevent further attacks by groups like the TTP, while Afghanistan's team also says it remains committed to peace and stability. Meanwhile, Defence Minister Khawaja Asif says that although Afghanistan appears willing to maintain peace, failure to reach an agreement in Istanbul could mean open war. He confirmed that no violations have occurred in the past few days and that both sides are adhering to the truce. Chief of Army Staff Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi have agreed to boost coordination on strategic, economic and security matters. According to the military's media wing, the meeting took place in Cairo, in which the leaders highlighted long-standing ties between the two countries and reaffirmed shared goals for regional peace and stability. During his visit, the army chief also met Egypt's defense officials and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. Security forces have foiled a major terrorist attack in North Waziristan. According to the military's media wing, 3 India-backed Khawarij terrorists were killed during an intelligence-based operation. Troops also destroyed an explosives-laden vehicle being prepared for a suicide strike, preventing what officials called a large-scale tragedy. A clearance operation is still underway in the area. The ISPR says forces remain committed to wiping out terrorism under the ongoing Azma Istehkam campaign. Pakistan and Iran have taken a major step forward in strengthening bilateral ties, agreeing to launch joint initiatives in logistics, trade and transport. The decision comes during high-level talks in Islamabad, where federal ministers Abdul Alim Khan, Jam Kamal Khan and Hanif Abbasi met with Iranian Minister Fazana Sadiq, who is currently visiting Pakistan. During the meeting, both sides agreed to establish a joint committee aimed at resolving trade challenges along the Pakistan-Iran border. The UN's top environment official says this year's climate summit in Brazil could define the next phase of global action. UN Environment Programme Chief Inga Anderson says countries are expected to bring stronger climate pledges to COP30. And this time, the world needs real ambition. Speaking in Beijing, she said the summit will also focus on protecting nature and tackling pollution. And hundreds of Tunisians have taken to the streets of Tunis, protesting toxic pollution from a state-run chemical plant in the southern city of Gabes. The demonstrations were sparked by rising illnesses and recent incidents of school children falling sick, and have now spread nationwide. Protesters accuse authorities of ignoring years of environmental neglect and repression. The government says several people have been arrested for violence as public anger mounts over worsening pollution and failing public services. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.